Figured I'd how's everybody doing out there? I'm making a mess out here, I tell you. Got a little bit of lightning. Methinks. Tempting fate a little bit, maybe. Smidgen. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. Got a very important message. It's in my mind. So, we were scheduled to head up to Estes Park this afternoon, and I guess from the looks of it, it's probably a good thing we didn't. As you can tell, I'm out here in the greenhouse. Kind of wanted to, as best I could without getting completely soaked and destroying my camera equipment, kind of wanted to embrace the elements. Sometimes that, I don't know, you don't really feel you're alive unless you've been through a high elevation lightning storm and heavy torrential rains. But what got me thinking was, they just canceled the 4th of July Independence Day fireworks show up in Estes Park tonight. So we had plans to head up there with some friends. Coming down pretty good. We were planning on hanging out with some friends that we don't usually hang out with. And it's the first time in my memory that I can recall the Estes Park fireworks show being canceled. But don't fret, they're going to reschedule it for tomorrow, July 15th. I kind of thought to myself, this whole notion of fair weather patriotism and just how soft, kind of a continuation of my previous little walk and talk about trying to make sense of what happened to this country and the moral fabric, the backbone that this country was founded on, right? And just how far we've slipped from those days and how soft we've gotten, right? So yeah, this concept of fair weather patriotism popped into my head, and of course this is where that phrase originated from. Thomas Paine, of course. Some of you may have caught my long format podcast about Thomas Paine and his common sense and how that related to America's role in Bible prophecy. Thomas Paine was quite a notorious figure in American history, early American history. And as it says on this website, Thomas Paine's common sense was a clarion call that began the revolution. And this is like anything else, people like to give one person credit for a major historical event, when in reality, just like what's going on in France right now. Interesting connection there as well with the history of the French Revolution. and America's connection with France. And you can almost see kind of history being repeated, right? French Revolution 2.0, possibly this time breaking out on a worldwide scale. And possibly France, you might say, is kind of a precursor to what we might face here shortly in America. With all the political tension, one thing that popped into my head is, could you imagine how out of control the left would get if Trump got back in office? But Trump aside, let's not think about Trump today. So Thomas Paine was an instrumental figure. There's a lot of factors, of course, that kicked off the American Revolution. And so, what we're lacking tonight in this once much freer country of America, what we're lacking in fireworks, I just wanted to put out some, mental fireworks, okay? Because ultimately, ideas are more powerful than any kind of outward display. Ideas are what motivate us. Ideas inspire action, right? And so, according to this article, this is what Thomas Paine wrote. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now, Old English once again, kind of throws me off sometimes. But he that stands it now, this crisis, deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And I see there's a definite conflict on the horizon in this nation, right? All these different factors, these two polarities, these polar opposites, how the left-right paradigm is pinning us all against each other for some great conflict, right? In my mind, two-party politics, and this was prior to the two-political system, by the way, right? That came a little bit later, and some of the founding fathers, like George Washington, in his farewell address, warned against the danger of factionalism and two-party systems, right? And in one true sense, two-party system is poison, and it's killing the tree of liberty right now in this nation. We're pinning ourselves, or we're getting pinned by different media outlets, different propaganda outlets, different all over social media, right? The thing that sells, right, is fear, is anger, hatred. And this is how these social media platforms are designed, to just amplify our divisions, right, and our contempt and our hate for our fellow Americans, right? To just kick off the left-right paradigm, boost it straight into warp speed, right? Until, like I said, we finally arrive at some kind of great conflict in this nation. Will it be another civil war? Some have speculated. When these phrases appeared in the pages of the Pennsylvania Journal, this article continues, for the first time, George Washington's troops were encamped at McConkey's, nice name, ferry on the Delaware River opposite Trenton, New Jersey. In August, they had suffered humiliating defeats and lost New York City to the British troops. Between September and December, 11,000 American volunteers gave up the fight and returned to their families. General Washington could foresee the destiny of a rebellion without an army if the rest of his men returned home when their service contracts expired December 31st. He knew that without an upswing in morale and a significant victory, the American Revolution would come to a swift and humiliating end. An article continues. Washington commanded the freshly printed pamphlet to be read aloud to his dispirited men. The rousing prose had its intended effect, reciting Paine's impassioned words. The beleaguered troops mustered their remaining hopes for victory and crossed the icy Delaware River to defeat the hungover Hessians on Christmas night. And on January 2nd, the British Army's best general, Cornwallis, at the Battle of Princeton. With victory in New Jersey, Washington won not only 2 battles, but also the love and thanks of man and woman. So, this country is in, I think we're in for a hurting, you know what I'm saying? We have gotten too soft, we've had it too good for too long. And now, the globalists, the unelected control freak psychopaths, the ruling elite that rule behind the curtain, present you with this option, this false left-right paradigm. 2 sock puppets on either hand, right, of the globalists. They present you this little reality show. And I think a lot of people are starting to wake up from that reality show. And we're going to have to really, 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 in this country, face some tough decisions really quickly here. And, I'm never one to advocate for violence. I don't think Christ ever did as well. As a Christian, I always err on the side of Christ, right? And his teachings over any, popular teachings or popular teachers today. But I think we're in for some tough times ahead. And the only thing that's going to get us through is a living faith. These people were moral giants, like I brought up in my last walk and talk there through the Rocky Mountain woods. I don't know how many of us have what it takes. The only thing I think that's going to get us through this storm ahead is a living relationship, a living walk, a living faith with the Almighty, right? These same writers like Thomas Paine, talked about providence all the time in their writings, talked about prophecies that foretold America and this land-rich continent that God had given his people to escape all the religious persecution in old Europe. And to, for once, show the world what it might look like to live in a free system. Guided, mind you, by biblical principles from Protestant Christians, which this nation was primarily consisted of in its early years. And I think there's a key correlation between the fall of this empire, this as short as lived as America is, and our walk away from God and those original inspired ideals. If we're not a godly people, like other founding fathers have mentioned, our Constitution was designed, I think it was Ben Franklin that said our Constitution was designed for a moral people. And what does that mean? When we stop becoming a moral people, a godly people, our Constitution will no longer serve us. And we'll look for demagogues, tyrants. He says in another part, I thought this was also inspiring. Let me read the full quote this time. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. And I think that's really the condition of this country. Nobody realizes how blessed this nation really is. You don't know what you got till it's gone, right? Like the song goes. Most people that have been born in this nation have no idea what it's like to live without these freedoms that we enjoy. So he goes on, what we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its virtue. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And it will be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom, in all caps here, should not be highly rated. I think we all need to highly rate freedom, don't we? I think for far too long now we've had it far too cushy, too cozy in this country. And once we start to see those freedoms, stripped away from us, we just experienced this, right, over the last couple years during COVID. Once we start to see those freedoms ripped away from us, once our liberty and our freedom of choice, right, even when it comes down to what we put in our bodies, once we start to see those things at risk, assaulted even, hopefully, it is my prayer to the Almighty that we do push back with just as much zeal and fervor as these tyrants, these devils, have for their lust for power, right? Anyway, God bless everybody. I'm going to cut it short. It's Nightwatch N8. If you haven't yet, like my video, share it, subscribe. If it's within your budget, you can buy me a coffee. Otherwise, no big deal. I'm just out here doing what I can, trying to spread the word, trying to pound on that Liberty Bell, right? And just to remind people, what we have in this nation, how we got it, and what we have, what we stand to lose if we don't stand for it, right? God bless. Nightwatch N8, signing out.
I walked through a county courthouse square on a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, "The old courthouse is kind of run down." He said, "Oh, it's right run down." I said, "The old flagpole is leaned a little bit. That's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it." He said, "Have a seat." I sat down. "Is this the first time you've been to our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night Francis got keyed. He said, Washington's right to say, can you see? And it got a bad rip in New Orleans. Packenham and Jackson tugging at the seat. And it almost fell in Calvary beside the Texas flag, but she don't. She got cut with a sword in Chancellorsville. She got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low beside her. She was in Korea, Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and now they've about quit waving back here home. In her own good land here, she's been burned, dishonored, denied, refused, and the government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare, and she's wearing thin, but she's in good shape. She's been through the fire before, and I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, we take her down every night, we don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her upright. On second thought, I do like to brag, because I'm mighty proud of that rag here.